nervous. You all look great in your underwear, by the way. Well, as you heard, I am an artist. This is me in my studio / living room. Since 2002, I've been painting, but I can do so much more than paint. Not only do I make art, but I invent and build custom assistive devices to aid in reducing effort and pain. This is me adding him to my computer desk for elbow support. I have to have elbow support when I'm on the computer. So there's sort of like this little framework that I had to build underneath. It's quite complicated to use tools, but it's what I love to do. So my most useful invention is this thing, which it's called a mall stick. Well, for me, it's a mall rail, and it attaches to the back of my canvases, and then I use that PVC. So I use the PVC pipe to lean on over the painting. I use that and then hold it and then do that over the painting so that I can't really use, I don't have a pinky to sort of use as a kickstand for all the details, so I have to kind of do this, and it takes forever and ever and ever and ever. But without this, I wouldn't be able to do the detail work. Here's a little table I made as well for my chair. PVC pipe is pretty good material. You can pretty much use it for a lot of things. I built it in my art lab. I have a second bedroom. And so it's sort of my temple, my place that I love. Like Heather, I am in love with the beauty in life. It's not enough for me to see it, though. I have to explain it, replicate it, and magnify it. This is one of my paintings. In 2014, I showed an exhibit called Syndrome Psychology. It depicts all the struggle, both physically and psychologically, that I deal with. And it's hard to say which inspired which, but I've also made a featured documentary called Logan Syndrome with one of my friends, and we're going to submit it to Sundance next Friday. So it's going to get serious. So how is all of this possible? As far as regular income, I get SSDI, which pays for the majority of my living expenses, and then housing pays for rent. This continues to be a source of shame for me, but I try to focus on the other ways that I contribute, like doing this. I have tried many jobs over the years. My first job was folding towels at Mom's salon. I worked at the zoo, I worked at call centers and office jobs, like filing. My last job was data entry, but I haven't had a regular job for about 10 years, which is great. I'm not going to lie, but there is a price to pay for that luxury, of course. The single most disabling aspect about Miller syndrome, for me, is having no wrist movement. Basically, I use my elbows like you would use your wrist, so everything I have to do requires that I hunch over, stretch my back, like Heather's saying, or I twink my back. Whatever I'm doing, it's my back. So I have a lot of pain in my back. I use the floor whenever I can. I use my limbs, whatever I have to use to get the job done. That's what I do. So I know how to use my body very, very well. It's like my thing, like my instrument, and I'm very good at it. because my hands are small and my fingers don't straighten out, there's a lot of steps that have to be added to everyday living things. Just extra steps that you would never even think that you had to do, that I had to do. Even I didn't realize all of the extra steps I have to take. Everything is hard and often painful, like vacuuming, working on the computer, the groceries, putting away the groceries, making dinner, eating dinner, it's all hard. The most obvious struggle, though, to you, is that I look different. I look weird. Everyone stares, even animals. Just kidding. Since preschool, I began constructing a bubble of deniability. I became hyper-focused on watching how normal people socially articulate themselves, the way they walk, talk, move, and act. And I became a social chameleon. The problem was I had convinced myself that I was blending in, truly believing I was unaffected by any disabilities. At 18, I moved out of mom's. Even though I earned a 4-year scholarship to Westminster, I ended up dropping out because I had a psychological break. And then I had a couple of temp jobs, but then ended up earning my associate's degree in graphic design at a trade school that no longer exists. But I was drinking every night, a lot, and then I started using pot. And so I quickly spiraled down to rock bottom, and I wanted to kill myself. I never have tried, thank God. This is a painting that depicts sort of my emotional, it's a large one, it's 4 feet by 4 feet, so it's huge. In desperation, I sold all my belongings and moved to Palm Springs. Kind of random, but for 3 months I was doing hard labor for my uncle's landscaping business. This is me. Shoveling gravel and planting trees and flowers and installing sprinklers and making waterfalls. What the hell was I thinking? I don't know. It's ridiculous. Eventually I found a whole new bottom, but that's not all I found. Art. One of the things I kept after selling everything was a large canvas and some acrylic paint. I was deeply inspired by the nature I was dealing with, so I just started painting. And I didn't know, I couldn't believe I could paint like that. In high school, it just wasn't, I didn't do well in high school with paint. It just didn't turn out well. So I never really tried it after high school. I never really put any importance on art. So I was just blown away that my purpose had been there all along. And I was going to take full advantage. And so I moved back to Salt Lake and quickly decided that I wanted to paint a flower series. This was the first flower that I painted. Shortly following this epiphany, I was diagnosed with ADHD and a general mood disorder. Nothing about autism yet, including depression, of course. Then I moved into my own place, got that job doing data entry. Ritalin was sort of the backbone to my success at that point. I had that job for about 18 months. But I was sort of strung out and trying antidepressants. You know, you have to wait 4 weeks to have them work, and they have side effects, and you've got to wait 2 weeks for them to stop working. Then you have to do it all again for the next one. And so, though I had the Ritalin, I was still sort of having problems, lots of problems. Drinking, I started drinking again. In 2004, I got a DUI. So getting arrested changed a lot for me. It wasn't fun, obviously. Then I eventually lost a job unrelated to that. I couldn't understand why life was so hard for me. I just didn't understand. Then one day my bubble disintegrated and I realized that I am disabled. Everything is hard because of these hands and these arms. It's hard and it's real. I was no longer capable of sustaining a version of myself that resembled my peers. So in 2005, I told Mom that I wanted to pursue an art career. She and I went to vocational rehabilitation and formed a pass account, which gave me money to start a career. So it paid for things like a custom car, so it's my Subaru that I love very much. Extended steering wheel, and then the extended clutch, because it is a manual. Then we had someone build a lot of custom things for my studio to try and aid in the painting, as well as having a sink on top of my sink, which I still have. So it's a sink on top of a sink because my arms are short, so it's lifted everything up, so it makes dishes and stuff like that a little easier. We also made prints and greeting cards of my flowers, which I know Mom has some up here to show. Yes, I do have I'm following a path here. It was my dream to do this, but I was still very unstable. And my relationship with my mom was almost destroyed because of the amount of paperwork and everything involved in doing the pass account and everything. I don't know if I'm pretty certain I wouldn't be able to do it, not mentally or intelligently. I'm intelligent enough to do it. I wouldn't be able to have done that amount of work without her. So in 2006, I had my first solo exhibit at Art Access, which is downtown. So this was it. Nature's in the Details was the name. It was a huge success, and we sold prints and cards, and it was amazing. Every painting sold except for that one. I still have it on my wall. It was amazing, but I was, like I said earlier, I was strung out on Ritalin. I was going to bed at sunrise and waking up at 3:30 in the afternoon, and I did that for months, and that was just my life. Finally, I went to a different doctor for a full evaluation, and they said I had high-functioning autism. And my ego was turned inside out, and I was without me. Within a month or two, I happened to need my wisdom teeth removed, and hydrocodone was prescribed. I had no idea I was in so much pain until this drug took it away. As far as back as junior high, now that I can remember, I've had chronic pain, primarily in the neck and back, but there's also a lot of pain in my joints. So sitting or standing still for any amount of time is difficult. Sitting here is difficult. So I'm just always uncomfortable and always in pain. Eventually I became addicted to Percocet and Noda. In 2007, we had the autism diagnosis affirmed by a triple board doctor up here. They did, I was part of a test, and they did an MRI because I was part of this test, but I still didn't believe it. I didn't understand it. It didn't compute to me that was what was real. But because of that, I was eligible to go to a program called Neurobehavioral Home Program, which is up here. And that's where my physician, the psychiatrist, and my counselor are all in the same place, and they specialize around, obviously, neurological conditions, primarily autism. In 2008, I asked if they would check me into a rehab to get off the opioids and the Ritalin, and so I did that for a week. And then we spent the next 6 years trying to find the right medication to deal with everything, the pain and the psychological stuff, along with weekly therapy. I finally became balanced and fairly content with the way I live my life. The last two challenges I need to address are the hearing impairment and the lung disease. When in a noisy environment, I can't understand what's being said. Having to say what more than once is mortifying to me. When a painting that I did, at the time, I pretty much my whole life I've only had one hearing aid on this side. And then a few months ago, I got one on this side. I don't really have a good reason why that is, why I waited so long to have it on that side. But now, this painting is not really relevant, because you can stand on either side of me now. So. But this is the old, I had a show that's in neuropsychology, and this was the only painting that sold. And it's not sad or anything, it's just, for me, it was the last painting I would think would ever sell ever. I just didn't, it was just kind of an interesting subject matter that didn't seem very interesting. So the fact that that sold, and that was the only one that sold, was so profound for me. Plus, with the hearing aids, we have to tape it to our head because we don't have the tops of our ears. So it's double-sided sticky tape on both, and it comes off if I sweat too much. Talking on the phone is something I avoid doing, but I think that's because of the autism as well. The lung disease is the most insidious of all of my challenges. It's hard to breathe, which keeps my mortality front and center. This is the painting I did to illustrate it. Luckily, though, I do have a secret weapon to combat the worry and all the stress. This is Charlie. This is a painting. And he's my life. You know, my whole life is centered around him. He keeps me laughing all the time. Every time I come home, you know, he's like ready to split in two. It's great. I love it. This is an actual photo of Charlie. We walk in the dog park every day. After creating art, watching TV is probably what I do most. It's a vital tool for me to stay educated. Heather loves to read. I hate reading. So I do watch Nova, Frontline, Independent Lens, and that's how I stay up to date on the world and can still sound intelligent. And don't tell anybody this, but Project Runway is one of my guilty pleasures. I still have weekly therapy. It's much more intense now. We're focused on anxiety and OCD stuff. So she's giving me homework, and it's really breaking through a lot of things. And you know, I told you earlier I didn't believe in the autism, and about a year and a half ago, the light went on, and I was reading some stuff, and holy, it is. It's autism. And that is what is causing all of these, mainly these social problems. And that changed my life. Everything has changed since then. I've pushed myself to paint at least 4 hours a day, but it's really hard. I'm working my ass off trying to make this life awesome. So some of the works in progress are some of that show. Well, they're after the show, some before I started. A lot of them 2 years ago. It takes me many, many months to do a painting like Charlie's painting. So I've been trying to figure out a way to do less detail, something. So I'm still sort of in transition. I believe I'm already succeeding, and it's only going to get better from here. So I'll leave you with one final thought. Very important. We all do number 2. All of us. Just think about that.